Have you ever wondered what an $1 flight would be like? Greetings, all gallant sailors on YouTube, welcome back to Abyssal Recap. Today we'll sail our way to India for the first time, to witness an inspiring tribute to the Deccan airline legend, G.R. Gopinath, who founded the first airline for people who can't afford regular flights in India. Spoilers alert. Buckle up and take care. Mara was born in a remote village in India. Due to bad transportation, the village was poor and destitute. His father, as a local teacher, kept writing to the government to request for a train stop or station. But he never got a single reply. 10 years later, he still did not give up the petition. While Mara, who had now grown up, led the villagers to block the rail to protest and was violently driven away by the police. His father was very angry, scolded him for using violence to solve the problem. While Mara thought his father's petition was nothing more than sitting still and waiting to die. This conflict brought their relationship to a freezing point. Then Mara entered the National Defense Academy and became an Air Force pilot. The cruel training made his heart tougher than ever. He often wrote letters to his home. His father would eavesdrop on her mother's letter reading. He was very pleased and proud to learn that his son was doing well. However, one day, Mara was informed that his father was sick and on the edge of death. He borrowed 6,000 rupees from his brothers-in-arms to head home, but was told that the economic class was full, and the remaining first class cost the double. After failing to borrow more money, he returned home by ground transportation, but his father had been long gone. Hadn't been able to see his father, he cried bitterly. It was at that moment, he made a determination to establish a low-cost airline, so that the poor could also use air transportation. After his retirement, he had went to 56 banks and 23 venture capital companies, but no one was willing to invest for a poor boy. At this time, he thought of Paresh, the founder of Jazz Airlines, who might be able to help him. He bought a first-class ticket with all his savings to meet Paresh. He also got to know a journalist at the boarding gate by helping her. In the first-class cabin, he met Paresh as he wished. He told Paresh frankly that he would also set up an airline company, which really attracted Paresh's interest. He then said that he intended to set up a low-cost airline company for poor people, and hoped to become a business partner with him. To achieve the low cost, he advised to avoid travel agencies and let customers order tickets online, so that they can save a huge part of commission. He had done research. In Tamil Nadu, there are 500 post offices that have access to internet, and gas stations also provide network services. Paresh evaluated that Mara's idea is good, but he is not impressed, because in his opinion, the sky only belongs to rich people like him. He cannot accept to fly on the same plane with those poor people. Paresh immediately asked people to drag Mara back to the economy class, but Mara refuted that he had the right to sit here because he had the first-class ticket. But surprisingly, Paresh made the captain to return to Chennai. Mara sadly got off the plane, but he was found by a boss of venture capital company, who had been on the same plane. He was very interested in Mara's business plan. Mara took him to a restaurant and told him that the food with the same ingredients and taste costs less than 20 rupees here, but it would be priced 20 times higher in 5-star hotels. It was known that the price of 5-star hotels contains a lot of added value. Similarly, he planned to set up simplified flights, as there is no need to provide meals and newspapers for short-distance passengers, and the ticket price would be cheaper too. In addition, he can set up more flights a day by shifting pilots so that they don't work over 8 hours a day. Mara's business plan and determination moved the boss. Under the boss's arrangement, he came to the office and explained his business plan with more details. In order to reduce the cost, Mara came up with the idea of renting airplanes. According to him, the plane AM company was willing to cooperate at a very low price. The boss told him that the board of directors had approved his plan, but the amount of 100 million rupees would not be approved until 6 months later. He hoped that Mara would first find a way to prepare 4.7 million rupees to order the planes. In addition, he needs licenses for the plane to enter India. Before that, he also had to have the planes painted in Malaysia. His mother collected 4.7 million rupees from loan sharks to support him, using her house and all her farm. Then Mara and 2 brothers-in-arms worked separately. One supervises the painting in Malaysia, the other handles the online ticket platform, and Mara went to the Civil Aviation Administration to apply for a flight license. However, the administrator either avoided or delayed signing it. 2 months later, Mara was so worried that he had no time and money to waste. He came to the railway station in distress and overheard the interview of the president brought by the reporter whom he had met at the airport. He suddenly had a bold idea. After contacting the reporter to explain the situation, the reporter invited him to meet the president. He told the president about his story with his father, and his determination to let poor people be able to get on planes, the president was impressed by his project to improve Indian people's life. Which made the local civil aviation authority finally issued him a flight license. However, Mara soon received another bad news. Plane AM cancelled the deal because the Civil Aviation Administration of India asked them to provide the blueprint of Boeing aircraft. The administrator claimed that this was a new regulation that had just been formulated, but Mara was very clear that the so-called new regulation was devised against him personally. He went to the boss of the venture capital company for help, but to know that the boss was actually under Paresh's instruction to let him waste 4.7 million money to order those unusable planes. Feeling in shame, Mara returned home, comforted by his wife who knew the pain and hardship of realizing one's dream, as she once opened a bakery all by herself long before marriage. She also knew that her husband, like her, will not be willing to bow to the fate. With the support and encouragement of his good wife, Mara soon regained his spirit. The next morning, he was inspired by a bypassing Sparrow and thought of turboprop aircrafts, which are small in size but capable of short-distance flight. He redirected short-distance and multiple routine flights as his new plan, so that the aircraft can cover large cities and small towns, expanding the connectivity between regions. Mara reached an agreement with a French turboprop aircrafts company to establish a joint venture. At the same time, he also completed the registration of Air Deccan in the name of her wife to avoid Paresh's attention. The next problem would be the startup 40 million rupees. When the villagers learned about this, they donated money to help him because it had been Mara's efforts made the village being connected to the railway network. They believed that he would also succeed this time. Another problem would be airports and tickets. Mara refurbished some abandoned airports left behind by the British. They worked just as intended. At the same time, his team have built their own ticket platform. Customers can contact their customer service to order tickets, and then pick up tickets at bank or supermarket. Next, are the pilots. Paresh, in order to suppress Mara, used 3 times salary to hire most of the pilots. While Mara invited a group of retired fighter pilots from the camp. The retirement age of civil aviation pilots was 61, so these dudes could still fly for another 4 years. On August 3, 2003, shit happens. Mara's plane was about to land at Chennai International Airport, but Paresh bribed the staff of the control tower and restricted the plane to land. In this critical situation, Mara made a quick decision and asked the pilot to land on a nearby military runway. It was a hard landing, bracing impact, but the crew managed to brought everyone onto the ground unharmed. They were nearly shot as intruders. But coincidentally, the head of the camp was his former instructor. The instructor released them and encouraged him to bravely challenge the rich bastards. Feeling encouraged, he launched an 1 rupee flight project. The first 10 tickets of each flight will cost only 1 rupee. Then comes at the price of 500 rupees and 1000 rupees. Even the most expensive tickets still cost less than a train ticket. They have 3 planes flying 10 times a day, which means that 300 people can get on the plane for 1 rupee every day. This project enlightened people's dream to fly. On August 16, 2003, Mara selected the location of his first flight in New Delhi and invited the Minister of Civil Aviation in the launching ceremony. However, as soon as the plane got onto the runway, the left engine started smoking. Fortunately, no one was injured. But he was inevitably besieged by the media. They questioned his low-cost airlines are actually low-safety airlines. While he was repairing the aircraft, he suddenly thought of the suspicious action of the captain before takeoff. After asking the captain, he learned that Paresh paid him, and he sabotaged the plane during refueling. Soon, with guilt, the captain openly declared that Deccan Airlines did not violate the safety regulations, and it was his negligence during refueling made its accident. But people had lost faith in the safety of Deccan Airlines. At that time, another airline intended to purchase Deccan Airlines at a price of 160 million rupees. Mara knew that the price was much higher than the market valuation. But, he flatly rejected the offer and was convinced that his direction was correct. In order to restore the public's trust in Deccan Airlines, Mara announced his flights through radio podcasts, in which he expressed his ambition was to break the barrier between the rich and the poor, so that anyone can take flights. The suppression of the rich and authorities on him just shows that the rich are afraid of losing their lofty privilege. He quoted, "Some people say that my cheap ticket represents cheap safety. Then, if a first-class ticket price is 3 times of economic class, would it be 3 times safer too?" In order to further prove that his flight is safe, he announced that he would participate in the first flight of Deccan Airlines at Chennai, together with his mother, his wife, and his baby daughter. He also invited passengers to travel with him. August 25, 2003 was the first flight of Deccan Airlines. To his disappointment, no one showed up on his plane except for his family. At last, Mara had to cancel the flight. Just at the moment he was about to accept his failure again, his friend rushed to him and told him that people did not lose confidence in him. It was because of the software malfunctioning which glitched the tickets at Chennai airport from being bought. All of the tickets from other airports to Chennai were completely sold out. Hearing this, Mara can no longer hold his emotions. He finally achieved what he had been dreaming of. This movie was based on real stories of G.R. Gopinath, who addressed the flight problem of India, which made him a hero of the country even up to this day. Hope you enjoyed watching today's recap and feel encouraged by the story. If you do enjoy watching it, feel free to leave a like and consider to subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one. Abyssal signing out.